What is going on, comic fam? It's your boy, the bearded comic bro, and I am joined by comic creator Adam Rose. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, thank you. That's quite the intro. I love it. You got that amazing radio voice.
At least you didn't say I have a face for radio. I appreciate that.
No, I'm happy to be here. It's in my neck of the woods, it's a sunny Sunday evening. So
And
yeah.
in my neck of the woods, it is a bitter cold, snowy day. We just had snowmageddon here in Ohio, so
Oh,
I'm soaking in your sunshine for me. So live it up. Well, we're going to talk about your book. You got a new book coming out through SourcePoint called Corollary, and I'm excited to talk about it. And it's in the previews, I know, that just dropped recently.
Yep.
Before we hop into your book, I gotta ask you, how did you get into comics? You know, do you guys have a love for comics, or is this kind of just something that you're like, hey, I'm gonna try my hand at writing and stuff?
No, I've been into comics since I was like 8 years old. I think I got my first stack of them from my grandparents who didn't know what they were doing. I remember like a few of those first issues that I took a look at. Like there was like a Doctor Who comic in there. There was like some Teen Titans and some other stuff. Nice. Silver Surfer. I mean, wild stuff. But it's the minute I started reading them, I was hooked. And then just getting into that world back then, like just going to your local shop and being a little kid, it was intimidating. It was the people behind the counter weren't always that accommodating if you were trying to learn stuff.
Yeah.
But I got my pull list going pretty quickly, and I mean, I don't know about you, but still, every Wednesday is like the most magical day of the week.
It's like Christmas. Every yes. Wednesday it's Christmas.
Yes, it really is. I mean, I look forward to it every time. And just my local guy in where the town I live in has a shop called Comics vs. Toys. His name's Ace. I mean, I haven't stopped collecting. I've been reading. I guess I started reading based on like heroes and teams and that kind of thing, and DC and Marvel and whatever. But then as I got older, I started following writers. I started following artists, and I wasn't as just consumed by storyline. And at this point, I suppose I'm not. The one thing I don't do as much of, unless it really gets me, is events.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard that phrase, like event fatigue.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. So once in a while I can be on board for one, and I'm trying to think of my latest event that I was digging. I guess I dug with, well, yeah, I mean, if you count the Thor God Killer one.
Okay.
That yeah, if that counts as an event, I think I was into that. But yeah, nowadays, I mean, like Hickman, I love following his work, wherever it is, artist wise. Not that he's done anything at least consistently for a little bit. Frank Quitely, if I'm saying his last name correctly.
Yes. Oh,
I mean, I constantly like to check out to see if he's going to do anything new or not. But it seems like he's pretty set up with whatever his other artwork life is. But then I'm discovering new people all the time. I mean, the artist I had got on my book, Rob Ahmad, he's based out of England, and I saw some of his work through like Scout Comics and a few others. And I just gotten into this guy, this person, Magenta King, is this artist.
Okay.
For a Dark Horse series called Jenny Zero. And
yeah.
I love the style, love the way their work looks. It's just amazing. So yeah, I mean, I started going to cons pretty early. I mean, I remember my first one was this small little one in Worcester, Mass. And actually, fun story, and this does date me a little bit, but my sister, who doesn't have any interest in that stuff, and she was younger than me at the time, she was like 8 or so, and guess who had a table? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle creators. Before they were anything, they just had a table, and she got some. I don't know if they made them themselves, but they had these, like, someone hand pewter made the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh wow!
And they signed the bottoms of them. She doesn't know where they are. She says they're in some attic somewhere, because I mean,
you're like, these are priceless.
Yes, yeah. Oh. So, and then I started getting into, I mean, I've been writing since college. I mean, I
Okay.
started doing a lot of like writing or even earlier high school, but I focused on it a lot in college. And I mean, early on, it was like more writing like comedy based stuff. Like I was
Yeah.
really into like sketch comedy and improv. And then then I got into like short stories and playwriting and screenwriting and then comic book writing about 15 years ago. And I've been just honing my craft ever since. I mean, I also like teach a course on graphic novels at a local college out here called Noman. I mean, I've gone as deep as I can with it. I've had some wonderful mentors or unofficial mentors. A great writer, Adam Beechin. He
Okay.
did, yeah, he did a run on like Batgirl and a
Oh,
bunch of other
nice.
DC things. And I mean, he's big. He does a lot of like animation stuff too. But he was like an amazing source of just someone helping me kind of get my feet under me as far as, and now I can't stop writing in comic book form. Before the book, Corollary, my first kind of published work is an all ages graphic novel that came out through a British publisher called Marcosia, called Playground: Attack of the Gurglebots. That one's like for a younger audience. It's
Yeah.
like, it's about a kid who can any playground game he plays, it's real. If he does freeze tag, he freezes you.
Oh my
Simon
goodness, that
Says.
sounds fantastic.
Yeah, so I learned a lot doing that book. I learned a lot with the artist Charles Tofield. He's based out of Maryland, great guy, and we worked together on that for like 3+ years. And you know, that was almost like a college level experience
Mm.
of learning the do's and don'ts of it, as well as just even now like cultivating relationships with people. I mean, the comic book world is just amazing people, is what I'm
Yep.
learning. People are just, they're generous with their time, they're generous with their feedback, they want to help each other out. It's, I feel like if you're in the world of comics, you got to love it.
Yeah.
I don't know how else it would be something you'd want to be a part of, because and it's such a different art form. I dig the fact that comics, as far as an American art form goes, it came in the same time almost as the birth of jazz. And I don't think that's unintentional.
Mm.
I mean, they're both this free form, beautiful, just lyrical artwork that blends so many things. And I think there is an improvisation to the world of comics, because what happens between those panels,
Yeah.
like in those gutters, is magic. I mean, you have one panel where somebody is raising their fist, and then in the next panel, they're flying through the air, and we've filled it all in. We have
Mm-hmm.
just filled in about $200,000 worth of special effects in our brains. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So,
It
yeah.
is such a good form. So you said, obviously you have a love, you're collecting, you're still reading comics. And you mentioned that your first published book was the Playground book. So where from there to now to where, Corollary, where, how did you get into actually writing comics more?
Well, I mean, I've written a few other full length comics that more for like an older audience, and I bounced them off of other people. I partnered with an amazing artist on this comic that I'm still hoping someday sees the light of day, called Apotheosis.
Okay.
It's Tony Gregory did the work for art on that. He's done some amazing stuff with Dark Horse and many other publishers. But he's a pro's pro, and he really set my feet to the fire, as far as like he called out anything that he saw that needed like tweaking here or there. So that was incredibly helpful. And the way I read comics, I mean, my eyes now more than ever, I like, the first thing I do, for better or worse, is I look at, okay, how many panels are on this page? What did the writer and artist do? What did they think about for that turn to the next page? Like, oh, is there a splash, or like a 2-page? I mean, even like, the quintessential Alan Moore 9-panel grid. When could I get away with something like that? Or maybe that is only Alan Moore. I don't, I mean, so yeah. I read up on it all the time. I mean, I'm constantly just trying to hone that skill.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it. To me, it's just, yeah, it's a love. I went to some panels. I went to LA Comic-Con just more. Well, I gave a panel actually on the history of comics, from the golden age to all ages, is what I called it, because I feel like we are in a huge boom for all ages comics right now. It's more, maybe even more in like the collected graphic novel. Not, I mean, I guess, you know, the big two are doing them, but you take a look at like what's in Barnes and Noble and all that. It's all these I mean, not, I guess it's wrong to call them collected. They're just all, they were considered or conceived of as finished graphic novels.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge. And then you have those hybrids like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Captain Underpants. I call them a hybrid because, you know, if you page through Wimpy Kid, it's like there's text, like prose, and then there's panels once in a while. So, I don't know. So I guess I don't know if that answered, you know, how what I'm doing, but yeah, I mean, it's all about the process. I mean, and I'm better now about like really looking at what I've done and revising and collaboration too. Like even when I get to that final moment with like DC Hopkins was the letterer for Corollary, and he's done a lot of big books, and he incredible too. I mean, he just even at that point, so you know, script to Rob Ahmad, the artist, and Rob comes back with like pencils, you know, thumbnails, and even then I'm like, oh yeah, I just realized I need to like maybe add something here or change this, or I'm, you know, that's going to be too busy. So even there, I might tweak something. And then even when I get it to DC, like, you know, he was patient with me, and I would sometimes realize, you know what, I gotta add a panel here because I'm something like there's a little element that I'm gonna make sure it's put in there. So I just feel, and then the editor people from Source Point, like Josh and Cam, they were very just helpful with like taking a look at like those finished pages and making sure everything was smooth.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have, and the team on this book is fantastic. I mean, you know, I've seen some of the panels of the book with Robert, they did, and DC is a fantastic letter. So like you've got a great team. So let's talk about the book then. It's out in previews now. People can check it out. Corollary. What is it about? You know, what can people expect from this book?
So the premise is, I mean, it's a galaxy odyssey. Like it is a romp through multiple galaxies in the cosmos, with a premise that I think and I hope is unique, that in this universe there are many, the majority of beings have a twin, and if their twin dies, so do they. And there happens to be this one captain who somehow seems to have gotten away with surviving her twin death. And she gets to go planet hopping, and people pay her to talk to figure out her secret. And that, you know, I can't give you more than that as far as what happens with her on that end. But beyond that, I mean, you encounter just all kinds of alien beings, intelligent life. But also at its heart, this book is about family. It's about understanding who your family is and where your loyalties lie. It's about love. It's about action. It's about thinking about others more than yourself when it matters most. But you know, if to equate it to something, I mean, it's like a Guardians of the Galaxy meets Saga, but not R-rated. You know, so
I was gonna say I did see that it's an all ages book.
I'm you know, and of course, I mean, I hope to be able to say that I'm in those levels. But I mean, as far as like the galaxy spanning, that's what I'm trying to get at here. It's just all kinds of beings and again, I'm like, I want to tell you a lot, but I also can't wait for you to take a look at it. But you know, there are, you know, sentient planets. There are arm wrestling celestials. There's all kinds of beings in this, and the action never stops. Like every issue, it's 4 issues. And every issue just leaves you begging for more until the end, where I hope you see something that could even go from here. I mean, I feel like I've created a sandbox that is very big, and you're going to be introduced to so many different characters that could each have their own, you know, life beyond this.
And so, I mean, so much to unpack here, because if y'all aren't sold off of that pitch, like, come on. The whole twin concept you mentioned, arm wrestling got like, come on, let's go. But the whole, you know, obviously it sounds like it's 4 issues, and I, you know, as comics go, you know, you wait and see sometimes. But if all things go well, you would love to expand on this story past 4 issues and stuff. Like you have more that you want to play with. This isn't just a
Oh,
set.
sure.
Okay.
But I will say this is a finite story. Like it has a beginning, middle, and an end.
Yep.
But take a look at. I was just watching the Book of Boba Fett latest issue. I don't know if you're into that at all.
Yeah, I haven't actually gotten to start to see it yet. So
okay, I won't say. I just was.
I mean, I'm on the internet, so I know everything already.
Okay, well, there's we're getting like stories within the Star Wars timeline of suddenly, this is what Luke was up to in between, I guess, Return of the Jedi and help me out here.
Force Awakens.
Thank you. Yes. Yep. So that's what I mean as far as there's plenty of room for this story to keep going. And and then like Rob's art is like the reason I would say this definitely is safe in the all ages vein. I mean, there is some violence, but yeah, there's no like saga level R-rated dirtiness. But he's got his style reminds me of like Bruce Timm's Batman animated series. I mean, it has that vibe to it, which I love.
You just spoke to my heart when you said Bruce Timm Batman.
I mean, I know it takes a lot to like throw names like that around, but I think Rob is channeling that in this book.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds like such a fun ride. It sounds like such a unique story. So how did your team come together? Because you have a great team. We've talked about lettering, we've talked about art a little bit, but how did it all form?
So I mean, I had to woo Rob into being interested in doing this, because at that point I had one published work under my belt, and we started at he was interested when we started it as it initially started as a 5-page story that I was hoping to like maybe get to like Future Shocks of 2000 AD.
Okay.
They Judge Dredd, they do like these little mini like for their science fiction anthology of Future Shocks. And then I was like, wait a minute, I mean, even from that point, I had this mapped out as a bigger thing, but I was like, well, maybe I should start small with someone like Rob. And then I knew I couldn't leave it there, and Rob was on board to keep going. And then DC, I think, actually Rob suggested DC, because DC lettered a book of his, I think, for Scout Comics.
Okay.
And that was what kept us all together. And it's been a great team to work with. Like, I mean, it's hard as far as time differences with Rob in the UK, but we covered everything via email and Twitter. I mean, yeah, we like direct messages on Twitter seem to be faster for some reason than email. But we got it done. And then DC, who's I think he's based out of Indiana. He was like just a great kind of central Midwest guy that helped keep the glue. He was the glue for this. And then I got to mention, because we did have a colorist come in for issue 4.
Okay.
Her name's Gabby, and Gabby, she was incredible to bring into this, because Rob, for the first 3 issues, he hand watercolored them. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then, that, I guess that was one drama, or it felt like a drama to me, because I am like the creator and editor of this, I was like, I had to wear a lot of hats for this. So that was when Rob, and he was honest. He's like, this is killing me. This is hard. I want to like get back to drawing some new stuff or whatever. Can you get someone, or he had Gabby for us, like, can you get her? She's amazing. And so we switched for the 4th issue, and I don't think anyone will be able to see the difference. She did it digitally.
Okay.
His hand watercolors for the first 3 issues.
Oh, wow. That's so cool to hear that. Like, I love the kind of behind the scenes, how the stuff gets made. Like, that's so neat.
No, and I got, he would, he had never done something like that. It was totally experimental for him to even want to do. And Josh at Source Point, he's like, let's go for that. Like, that's going to be awesome. And so we, instead of thinking digital color, which is pretty standard,
right?
So we went for it. And then just by that 3rd issue, and a lot of my issues, in fact, I think only one of them follows that very stringent rule of 22 pages. I think issue 1 and issue 3 are 24 pages. So, he
Okay.
had a little more work to do than normally.
Mm. So where did this idea then for you come from? Like, because it's such a cool idea. Like there has to be some story behind it.
There is. I suppose the person that gets the original credit is my daughter Caroline, who's only 8, and when at this point she was 5, and she was in bed, and I think we just saw a friend of mine who was about to have twins.
Okay.
And she said something to me as she was going to sleep, like, Dad, if your twin feels, gets tickled, would you get tickled, or something like that?
Yeah.
So hers was like this innocent, happy, pure thing. And then I left the room, this giant light bulb over my head. And I was like, what if we go dark with that? And I was like, what if, like, in this, you die if your twin dies? You're that connected.
Wow.
And that was it. So Caroline like had it, in a beautiful kind of pure way, like, yeah, if you get the giggles when your twin does. And I was like, no, let's turn that up a little bit. So yeah, and I have some cousins who are twins, and like, they reached out to me when they saw the announcement. They're like, good idea, but I'm a little concerned.
Like, what are you trying to say here? Your daughter's gonna read the book. I'm like, Dad, this is not what I had.
Yes.
I clearly said tickle. This is not that.
No. But in my son, he was like the origin behind my playground comic. Like he was like, I wish when I'm on the playground, I wish those games were real for me. So I guess, my kids really are a big source. And, and I got to say, like, my wife is like a huge, she's a very supportive comic book married to person. I mean, our first date, I took her to Golden Apple Comics in Hollywood. And we, in the first graphic novel she bought was The Watchmen.
Oh, wow.
So, talk about 9-panel grids.
So you played all the cards on the table. You're like, listen, first date, I'm just going to tell you, this is what you're going to get. We're going to a comic shop. Like, if it's not going to work out, you might as well know right off the bat.
It was a huge roll of the dice. And she went for it, and she read The Watchmen. And then she even, we both were reading like the trades of Walking Dead together. And then, the rest is history.
See, it's all about how you work it, right? I tricked my wife into it afterwards. I got back into collecting after we were married, and she was stuck with me. So, you got to find what angle works for you.
That's right. No, and then one story I've told like that hurts to tell, but it is a big part of my comic book world. The day before my birthday, 7 years ago, someone broke in and stole my collection of 6,000 comics. So that hurt. I even made the local news out here for that. Not the way I wanted to make the news.
Right.
So, and people are always like, it had to be someone who knew. Like, who else knew you had 12 long boxes in your garage?
Yeah.
Like somebody that had been. So, I don't know. I mean, the police, I feel like, at that, wasn't like the top of their list. I mean, this one detective came over and he's like, I was like, well, this lid is still here. He's like, kind of looked at me. He's like, all right, I'll bring it to the station and dust it for prints. So I can laugh now, but it hurt beyond belief. Yeah.
Man, that's 6,000. Wow. So, I mean, have you been able to kind of like rebuild a little bit of like where you're like, you probably had some idea of like what you had and what you wanted, and like to try and rebuild some of the stuff, you're like, I need to make that back in my collection.
That's a good question. People have asked me that, and I've even had people early on there like offered like to give me, and a few people have given me some of their like old comics, really kind-hearted, like family and even friends and strangers at that, but I have not gone back.
Okay.
For a minute there I was like, am I not going to do this anymore on Wednesdays? And I was like, no, I love them so much. So I haven't gone back. Like, I haven't like gone like, diving into bins to replace certain things like that Teen Titans X-Men crossover or the Wolverine versus Hulk issue. Yes, I had that. I mean, I shouldn't even say what I had. But it hurts. It hurts. The Dark Knight Returns. So
yeah.
I've been going forward. I've been just getting
Okay.
things on my weekly pull list.
So you're basically you're rebuilding your collection with a new slate of these are now my books I'm picking up weekly
Yep.
and things. Yep. So
Yep.
you're a Wednesday warrior. So what's I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's something you've really dug this past
Oh,
year? I'll give you a year or so.
sure. Okay. The
Give me a couple.
Frontiersman.
Okay.
Frontiersman.
Yeah.
Uh, the Top of the Lake, or not Top of the Lake. Oh my
Oh,
God. Uh,
Nice House on the Lake.
yes. Nice House on the Lake. Um, oh my gosh, the new Jeff Lemire one where it's like this dog and monkeys in space. Primordial.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
Um, and I trade waited for Lemire's that haunting one with the barn, the blood red barn. I'm so bad with names now.
Yeah.
Well, I gave you a few names there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
what else? I mean, I'm always trying new stuff. I'm loving Nocturnal.
Yep. Yep.
Nocturna.
Nocturna.
Geiger, Jeff Johns' first
Geiger's
world.
so good.
I haven't read the big thick special one that just came out. I'm excited.
I haven't either. I didn't pick it up because I was just like was like trying to turn my pull, and as soon as I was doing a show with one of my buddies on Friday night, he's like, "If you like Geiger, how have you not picked?" Like he's like, "It was so good." I'm like, "Well, I'll be back Wednesday anyways. I'll get it."
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's like seems like a sandbox that he's
Oh,
building a universe and easily. I mean, that's amazing stuff. And then the other one I've been loving is Mark Miller's Magic Order.
okay.
Yeah, I just there's something about that like high level of like R-rated Harry Potter stuff going on.
Yeah.
Wizards are just hardcore, so that's been cool.
Awesome.
And there's one more I just was picked up and was. I mean, I guess this doesn't count as new, but Moon Knight's been fun.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I'm trying to get into it myself.
Yeah, he's a great character. I mean, I think I think they're going to do, it feels like from those trailers, they're going to do right by him. Like the fact that he has that kind of multiple personality thing going on. I think, and Oscar Isaac is such a high level actor. So I think they're going to get it right.
Yeah, I saw that trailer and I was like, okay, I need to know more about this character. And so I've been trying to dig into some Moon Knight myself to just familiarize myself with it because I haven't. There's so many comics out there, and I was one of those, like I read it all the time as a kid and I stepped away from collecting for like 15-20 years, and I got back into it just like 5 years ago and missed so much.
That's not a bad place to be. You know what I just recently got, and I didn't know if I ever would, but I did it for research purposes. Marvel Unlimited, the app.
Yeah.
I've been signed on for a couple months now, and I've been like diving into some old stuff, and it's helping me as a writer, and I'm just loving like reading these old kind of rare series that I didn't even like the Master of Kung Fu, and just how that went on for like hundreds of titles. I mean, just some cool stuff, like way in the deep dives of their digital archives.
Oh yeah, from Wednesday pull list to digital apps to checking out graphic novels at my library. Like, I mean, there's so many ways to just get inundated with comics, and I love it.
Oh yeah, no, I can't get enough. I guess the one thing I haven't gotten into yet, I mean, I've heard great things, is there are all these new podcast stories.
Mm-hmm.
You can I mean, another thing I've been loving, and I got all the one shots, all the Old Man Logan stuff.
Yeah.
There's Old Man Doctor Doom, or I don't know if they call it that. I think the Wastelands Doctor Doom.
There was Old Man Hawkeye.
Yeah, Peter Quill.
Yep.
And there's like a podcast story of following, like I think Old Man Hawkeye. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, there's all these different Marvel stories that are going on and following Wolverine and you name it. So that's a whole other area to get into.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's so many, and you can fall down YouTube and podcast rabbit holes, but
oh yeah.
Well, Adam, I asked you if you got much more going on right now, but it seems like you're pretty busy. Is your main focus right now on Corollary? When it comes to writing, are you kind of or dabbling in some other stuff as well, or?
Yeah, I mean, I am Corollary as far as, I mean, just getting it out there and as many shops that are willing to pick it up across the country. Yes, I mean, it's in previews now. I hope they go get it. But then no, I'm wrapped up on a new script for a kind of neo noir horror fantasy.
Oh, nice.
And I'm hoping to like get some publishers to take a look at that. I mean, I
Okay.
already have people that are kind of getting back to me on it. You know, we'll see. It's a lot. You know, I feel great about it. I've been working on just writing that. I feel like once I finish something, I can't like stop everything. I started writing this other thing I'm talking about like 2 years ago. So now
Yeah.
I'm rooting for that. So I always want to keep things moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm busy.
Yeah.
Writing is like a lifeblood for me. So yeah, I keep it moving.
That's awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for just taking some time to talk about comics and your book. And I mean, I feel like we could sit here and talk about comics for hours.
Absolutely, man. Anytime you want me, I'm
Yes.
on. You name it. This has
Yes.
been amazing. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, obviously, when is the book drop? We haven't even talked
April
about it.
20th.
April 20th. Okay.
I assume that's a Wednesday.
Yeah. Let's hope. Who knows?
Yes. So yeah, that's when it drops, and it's 4 issues monthly.
Okay.
And then it'll be collected eventually into like a graphic novel.
But gang, I mean, we've already sold you on it. You got to go check it out. Go pick it up. Go, go on your previews, Pullbox Digital, pre-order it, get it in. Go support this. It sounds like a great book. I'm excited to check it out. Where can people follow along with you so they can kind of keep up to date with what you're working on and what you got going?
I mean, I'm building a website, but right now Twitter, Adam Rose 74 is my Twitter handle, or Instagram, Shazam Cap.
Nice. And all the links that are mentioned are in the description of this video. Go click on it. Go follow Adam, support him. Man, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me.
Hey, thank you, man. It's been a pleasure. Have a great Sunday night. Stay warm, okay?
Will do. So, gang, with that being said, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.